Good morning, afternoon or evening, and welcome to another episode of the #1 series following mid-level players and their journeys to greatness, mid-level matchups. So we've seen 4 players so far, and rather than see someone new today, we're going to actually revisit one of our first featured players and see how they're getting on. The player in question is Lorenz11. He's now rated about 200 points higher than we previously saw him, and he's still not a hugely aggressive player, but he's definitely a solid top 50 player nonetheless. He's now sitting at 34th in the world. So why don't we see how he gets on today against the previous video's opponent, the world's 21st best player on current ratings, Dakiras. It's a balanced mainland match, it's random civs, so let's go. And welcome to the game. So in the north, as the Carthaginians, and in red we have the star of the show, that is Lorenz11. He'll be attacking in the south, a guy who has been on MLM before, but as an opponent he was beaten by ElDragon, so this is his second appearance without actually ever being the star of the show, so to speak. So both of these players have been featured before on MLM, albeit in different games. So, just to confirm, you've probably realised by now that in the Iberians, in this beautiful cyan kind of colour, we have Dakiras. So 1824 plays 1735. And last time we looked at Lorenz11, he was like down in the 1500s, so he's done really well. So from his thing, he's not seen any additional berries. I think there may be some around, but I am not certain of that. It's the kind of place that has little fruit trees. That biome, I'm not sure that there are any though in this instance. So he's decided against the berry upgrade, whereas in fact, as has Dakiras. So he's started just out here, got a little bit of woodline very close to this. This is useful. Could garrison in these towers if needed, which would basically put him in a very, very strong position to defend that. It's the good thing about the walls people don't always know about, or don't even realize potentially about Iberians, is that the walls don't only defend what's inside, they also, as if we click on one, it doesn't show the range, but they allow you to shoot out as well. So anyone trying to attack these would also come under fire from these. So it's pretty good. I mean, we've got an early move towards cavalry, and that presumably is because it's for these deer, actually, just a couple of deer. That's interesting that he's done cavalry without knowing that there are actually some sheep up here. It's a bold move, frankly, and there's very little in the way of hunt. There's some more for sheep here. Were Lorenz11 to try something similar, it would be he's just got a couple of what they call deer there. So it is balanced mainland, so they should be equal in the amount of food that they have, but maybe these sheep count as the equivalent of these. It looks slightly unfair, but there you go. So we've got a bit of scouting going on from Lorenz11, just checking out a bit more on that. It's very useful. Under 3 minutes in, that's good that he's collected all of the chickens and is now checking out a bit of the map. So in case you're not aware, a single cavalryman will take around about 2 minutes to clear those chickens. So at 2 minutes, you should be looking to transition to farming, which he is doing, very, very good. Or if you've got a more hunt-based economy, then you can be doing that instead. And that's the way that Dakiras is approaching it. So he's got 4 cavalry, and other than that, he's just really producing women, no infantry for either, which means that Lorenz11 is slightly ahead because it's slightly quicker to produce women than it is to produce cavalry, but not a great deal ahead. He seems to have been the extra speed with which you can collect food with cavalry has really benefited them, benefited Dakiras. So this cavalryman is, he's just getting people there. There's one, and that guy's chopping wood. There's what he got out here, not a lot to defend that, which Dakiras is now aware of. He knows that this is pretty poorly defended. He's going to take out this scout very shortly, I would imagine. Yep, there he goes. And he's going to need to, to utilize his cavalry, which are now effectively, they can collect some hunt there, and there's a little bit of meat left over on each of these, but fundamentally they need to prove their worth, and that is going to be in terms of having quite an early raid, particularly as it looks like, yeah, Lorenz is starting to move into infantry, which is useful. I guess he's producing more cavalry. No, he's not. He's housed. Oh, that's not good at all. They're building a couple of houses, and yeah, nice location there for the barracks. That will really bring this wood line into play, allowing to put a storehouse right in there. And yeah, he's not in a great position to defend himself. Is this house full? Yep. No, I think they're 10-person houses, so I think he could have put extra people in there, but didn't. And these guys are coming in just being annoying more than anything. They're not going to get. They've got 4 kills, which is pretty impressive, but they're struggling somewhat. So I think realistically, you can see he's moved ahead in population now, and that's down to less well, actually at this point it is down to the kills, but what it will mean is that he actually has a bigger advantage going forward. You can see how few people suddenly are collecting wood compared to what were prior to that raid, and if he's feeling confident, we would expect to see him producing more cavalry, which he's not doing yet. So these guys are going to also be killed, and the problem with these guys is that they're also holding wood, which is not very good for him. They're staying just outside the range brilliantly. Okay, he's gone. Surely one or more of these is going to go. Oh, look at that. Yeah, you would have expected those cavalry could have all been killed if it just not retreated to the civic centre. So 3 horses down, but 10 for the other thing, and now Dakaras ahead in infantry, a level in population, and ahead in cavalry. So, and also, yeah, now has just put in a massive order of 10 women, and that's doing it. And he's just getting additional soldiers here, so it's going to be really soldiers on the front line, which is smart. And he'll use his women. I suppose he could build some more farms, or he could send them to one of the. There's not actually really a good location around the back for him to access, so they could potentially come out to here, where they would need a bit more defending. Here would probably be better because he's got the barracks so nearby. Important also, it's built up a 15 population lead, and as that was not down to the deaths so much as the fact that it stopped from Lorenz from collecting resources. And I mean, I've mentioned this before, but it is one of the key things that people earlier on in their starting to play the game, they'd make a raid and they just think, oh, I barely killed anyone, without really taking into account that while you're raiding, your soldiers are just happily, well, not the soldiers necessarily, but your citizens are happily collecting resources at full speed, while your opponent's citizens, that is, are trying to move to safety or to create new places to collect resources or attack back. All of those things stop them from doing anything particularly useful. And we can see, actually, this is what Lorenz11, it's a smart move on his part. His aim is to get this up, and knowing that, so you can see the borders changing. So you do see the edge of the territory changing. So he knows something's gone in this position. So as it's in phase 1, realistically, that's only going to be a barracks that's caused that. So he knows there's troops on the front line. And this is a very, very useful thing. Oh, it's not going to quite go up. It's been spotted by Dakaras, and I think he's given up on it. Shame, because that was actually a really important part of him getting it. So good spot from Dakaras. He will, he's got good there. He's producing cavalry. He needs to get this producing women or producing something, because it's just a waste at the moment. But he's got large groups of cavalry now. And here, these guys are just sitting ducks. There's no defense for them at all. This person's going to surely die. There's now 20 in the civic center. trying to build some more houses around there. Could have done with houses at the front, actually. If he had a couple of houses around here, it serves two purposes. One, it obviously offers a chance for these people that are on these front fields to be able to get into houses quickly. But also it just makes it that much more difficult for the cavalry to actually attack. If they're stuck, if they can't get beyond kind of this area, then with the range, these fields are safe. So they have to kind of go round and things. And by the time they've done that, you've had a chance to pull everyone to safety. So in they come again, and we've got, just to check, here's where we've got another group. We've got 5 cavalry there, 4 cavalry here. This is a really good a vintage style sort of pincer attack, and the cavalry realise that this is a pretty well defended area, actually not the best idea to try and attack it. And again, not having houses here causes problems, but he has decided to put soldiers in amongst the women farming, so they'll be much slower to collect resources. What they do mean is that he can't just attack with impunity. There is the risk that he's going to get, or Dakaras is going to get done with soldiers. So yeah, that's relatively sensible. Dakaras has now moved to phase 2 and is closing in Lorenz. They've got very, very similar populations, but Dakaras at this point is building his second barracks. So you can see Dakaras's economy is massively superior at this point. He is pulling in wood and food at a rate that is just not being matched remotely by Lorenz, which means that the gap is only going to grow. And we've moved to producing slingers as well, which are a very, very good phase 2 unit. In my opinion, I think they should only be available in phase 2. Making them available in phase 1 means that you can actually win the game in phase 1. And slinger rushes are almost impossible. If they're done well, then they're very, very difficult to defend against effectively. Again, I would have just liked to have seen houses or something just to put him off. Maybe even a little tower around here would just be sufficient to make the cavalry think again about doing that. But certainly some kind of physical barrier would be really helpful just to do it. But having these guys on the front line might prove that. So not producing 6 archers. So the difficulty with archer civilizations is they try to build another what do you call it, another outpost to see what was going on, and has been quickly rebuffed again. But this, we've now got the basis of a reasonable army on the front line. So he's just making sure he doesn't get housed. I think he must have been housed recently. Yeah, he's housed currently. So building up a little backlog of, or building up a number of houses so that he can clear that backlog. He could actually, now that we're on the front line, it'd be nice to see a temple potentially, because it will give you a population bonus, but the massive advantage of it is just the fact that he's got these troops on the front line if he's going to attack, and based on the fact that he's now got 11 cavalry, and well, I think that's a pretty good sign as well, a pretty clear sign that he is going to attack. Having that would allow him to come back. And a third attempt to build this outpost. Lorenz is really determined to do it. We've got his little tower here, which actually was what I mentioned, a slightly different location to where I mentioned previously, but they should be able to take these cavalry out relatively quickly, actually. But potentially not all of these cavalry. And that's sufficient with the group of slingers. And if I'm surprised, the slingers could come after this tower and take it down very, very quickly and actually capture it. If they were to capture this tower, then they could use the upgrade, turn it to a proper defense tower, and bang, Lorenz is in huge trouble. Unfortunately, his army has got kind of isolated. It's a really, really good use of splitting his troops, moving into different attacking units, keeping Lorenz guessing. Basically, he's having to defend from threats here, there, and everywhere, which is very, very smart play. He's still, no, he's stopped producing. He needs to get producing soldiers because he seems to have forgotten, but he's got so much wood, so much food. He needs to be reinforcing because actually Lorenz is also not reinforcing there. It's a really good attack. These guys, actually, it looks very much like Dakiras' army is going to be routed, but the fact that he is still ahead in population, even with a lot of his soldiers, this group of slingers, again, look at them, they're just causing mayhem around there. You see how difficult it is for him to make sure he responds to all the threats he's overcommitted to this, which means that these guys are free to do what they wish, basically. But it's one of those situations where you just want to make sure that they're all gone. You can't leave just one hanging around, because that one can be reinforced, or that one can, pop or probably be around here actually, but put an outpost here, which would stop him from getting this metal, this wood. It's it's a really brutal kind of attack, but he's now at risk of losing his houses. So he's got to come and attack again. He's trying to get these guys going. And with the Carthaginians, you can see it's such a limited troop selection, your only choice. He's at phase 2, so basically he has to get the embassies. So that house is going to go. And these guys have committed themselves. They're going to be killed. Absolutely. What's he going to provide? Yeah, not a huge amount actually. I thought they might be carrying a bit more loot, but they're not. So they'll be killed. But while that's been happening, so I mean, we don't need to watch them get killed off. They're obviously going to die. Lorenz continues to build this kind of path of barracks going forward, which is very, very good idea. He's still got actually hasn't got a huge amount of people going forward. So he's building a market. He's built a blacksmith, but he's yet to go for any upgrades, whether he'll wait until phase 3 or whether he'll get one of like the ranged infantry or the quilted body armor for infantry. We'll wait and see. So with the 2 towers, the market and the blacksmith, he'll be ready to go to phase 3, and he's looking fine in terms of stone and metal. He'll be able to go pretty much as soon as these are finished, I would expect, assuming he doesn't go and produce any more slingers, which he has stopped doing now. So he's reinforced his army incredibly quickly. So 20 population clear, a bigger army, and moving to phase 3, presumably now actually. Hold on. Yeah, he is. Sorry, I was waiting until the very last second until one of those was built. It was obviously not quite complete. It's good. It's good play. Have we got a 4th attempt here? Okay. Never say that Lorenz is just one to give up. It looks very much as though he's going to try and build another outpost. Or is he not? Is he just actually going to leave this guy standing there? He's got a human outpost in place instead. But here, so Dakiras unaware of that. Lorenz knows he's putting a civic centre here. Here comes your outpost. 4th time lucky. Come on. Surely it can go up this time. Or will he once again find himself? They don't know about it. Maybe it will finally go up. I guess we'll wait and see. Although, as he moves to phase 3, yeah, that brings it into the shot. So army-wise, Lorenz has decided to build a little tower. He's bringing everyone forward, though. There is absolutely no one being left at home. So who's collecting wood? Where are you going to get your reinforcements from? A handful of people collecting wood. He's got a reasonable amount of wood, but not a huge amount, and that is going to prove very, very difficult for him to deal with. Can he? Yes, he's garrisoned in there. That's actually a really useful move. He's trying to stop this from going. It's still phase 2 plays phase 3, so for that reason, Dakiras' soldiers will all have more health. So he's at a big advantage, plus he's got a bigger army. Plus, he's got these guys collecting, 16 women collecting wood. I don't think that's sufficient to really keep him reinforced. This is not looking good, I have to say. He continues to produce skirmishers from these barracks. The main thing is going to go here. Lorenz has done well, spread out his troops to try and make it more difficult. But what's happening here, though? God, there's sufficient troops. They should be able to take over that. Okay, he's not got this garrisoned. This is not garrisoned either. If either of these were garrisoned, that would be a help. But it's easy to forget in the heat of the moment. There's so much going on, and he's under attack from so many different sides. He's now virtually half the population that Dakaras is. So yeah, his army is down to a third of the size, under a third of the size, 30%. So it's really difficult. And if he's afraid that the barracks would be taken, so he's killed it, and that's it. Yep, understandable. Dakaras was brutalizing him there. He never really recovered. It was just really, really good play from Dakaras, really good. So you can see, in terms of the techs, the only difference was that Dakaras started getting some techs from phase 3. I think it's from phase 3. Yeah, is it? I'm not sure. Actually, maybe he only got the phase 2. Sorry. Looks like he got phase 1 and phase 2, and he got both the upgrades for farming, but that was it really. You can see in terms of total score, let's have a look at units trained. Yeah, there was a real shoot off at the end. You can see just how suddenly this shooting up. It's like looking at recent coronavirus figures in the UK. Look at that, insane levels of killing. He just wasn't able to keep up. In terms of here, trained more, killed more, lost fewer, obviously. And you can see as well that Dakaras trained more infantry and also killed more of his opponent's infantry. So it was a really, really good display. There was no trading whatsoever required in that game. In terms of resources, the different upgrades, and the fact that Lorenz was constantly going from place to place was really demonstrated there. Just a really solid display from Dakaras, I have to say. Well played, really caught Lorenz on the hoof. But in fairness to him, he also, in a random game, even when it's on balanced mainland, it still didn't look quite balanced because I don't know how Lorenz didn't have as much food. And he drew Carthaginians, which is always putting you at disadvantage compared to Iberians. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Obrigado e adeus.